it's not clickbait. I did get scammed on this car by a dealer. Essentially, I think I'll insert some footage, which will probably look not like me anymore because I've got longer hair and I look older. From when I got the car, on what initially happened, sort of the lead up to looking at the car, what happened when I was there looking at the car, and then for me buying the car. I'll insert that footage here. So the advert had a walk around and lots of pictures on it. Looked really nice, as they do in videos and pictures. But in the video, I was trying to listen to the engine. I've got no experience with this engine, and it did sound a little bit engine loud, but he didn't open the bonnet, so I wasn't sure if it was just normal injector noise or if there was a timing chain rattle issues, which I know this AJ133, I think it is, suffers from. So I jumped straight on WhatsApp, asking him some questions about service history, things like timing chain issues, if the mileage was verified, and asked him for a copy of the auction sheet, and no, absolutely nothing for this car, which obviously concerned me. It's not something I was used to with buying cars from the UK market. You get at least some service history out of something. But so I did some digging online, and it seems it's fairly common for service history to be conveniently lost over time during the import process. But it didn't put me off completely. For me, the condition of a car speaks volumes. I mean, I service all my cars and do most all the work myself on cars. But from my research, there's a number of auction houses in Japan that auction these off based on interior grade, exterior grade, and then they give it an overall grade. And I think the auction sheet shows any accident damage and any repairs that they've had. Now, this dealer claimed he didn't have the auction sheet, and from what I'd read online, I'm almost certain that he would have had it from the buying and import process, so sort of immediately didn't trust what he was telling me. But I wanted to see it, so I went to look at the car. It was about an hour and a half journey there. He turned up maybe 15 minutes late, which gave me a chance to look around the car because he left the gates open. And it was the only Land Rover on there, and he'd actually left the car unlocked as well, which was nice, depending on how you look at it. And I checked a few other doors as well; they were open too. So he just seemed to do that with all the cars. I had a good look around the inside and out just before he turned up, and yeah, it looked in great condition on the face of it, but it had obviously been sat for quite some time. It had like those green algae stripes dripping down it, which were quite obvious because it's white. Couldn't see any major sort of paint defects, no obvious sort of dints in the doors. So I jumped inside, checked on the carpets, it was all dry, no cigarette smell, couldn't see any burns on there. It was really clean, to be fair. I was really impressed with the interior, especially the gorgeous colour of the leather. There were some little black trim plastic bits off in the boots. I thought he might have been having some trouble with the brake lights or something, I don't know. So I opened up the bonnet, there it was. Nice, lovely, stonking V8, which was fairly clean. I couldn't see any obvious leaks or corrosion from above, but I did take the oil filler cap off, and I'd cheekily brought a long flathead screwdriver with me because you can see the timing chain through the oil filler cap, and I just gave it a little bit of a wiggle, and to be honest, it did have a little bit more play than I probably would have expected or liked. But as I said, I've got no real experience with these to say what's a really bad or really good one, so just reserve my judgment until I could hear it running. And so he finally turned up. Really nice guy, to be fair. He originally took me to the wrong car by mistake because he brought out one of those little trolleys that you find like at a spar shop where they move stock around, and it had a battery strapped to it. So I thought, here we go. He said he was expecting 2 other people at the same time, which I thought was a little odd because I had to arrange a specific time to get there, and I thought that's a bit strange. Why, I wouldn't expect him to book 3 people in at once and then just turn up late himself, but oh well. So he then took me to the right car, to the Discovery, after he got the key, and he immediately said, yeah, he's been having battery problems with it because it's been sat there and it might not start. So I thought, right, okay. I said, well, I've already had a quick look, start it up. And it did, it started straight up, to be fair. He went to pop the bonnet himself, which was quite amusing because he couldn't find the bonnet catch. It's clear he just wasn't familiar with the car, and he was looking for it in the driver's footwell, but it's in the passenger's one. So I opened it up, and when it started, it did sound a little bit loud on cold start, to be honest, but it didn't take long to warm up. I couldn't hear any timing chain rattle to my ears, at least, and it sounded quite good. Any noise did sound like injectors, quite normal, so I wasn't concerned at that point. But he left me to look around. So me being me, I immediately jumped in the driver's seat, plugged in my IID diagnostic Bluetooth tool that I use on my Range Rover. Lo and behold, loads of errors came up, which I knew they would, because there's no such thing as an error-free Land Rover. But it was just nice to see that nobody recently reset and cleared the errors, so I could just see everything in its glory. Car guys, you know what it's like. It's worse hunting down problems. You'd rather just know what they are and just fix them. So there was nothing, no engine-related codes which came up, which was my first concern. But there were a fair few transmission-related errors which drew my attention. But I think they're probably battery-related, because they all came at the same time and date, which coincided with what I think was when it was last MOT'd, which was in March that year, which is another thing. The MOT runs out this March coming. So he came back and I said, well, can we take it for a drive? He said, yeah, sure. He jumped in and there was just literally no fuel in it. It said 0 miles on the dash, which was pretty twitchy. And then here we go again. He immediately said, oh, we've had a problem with the suspension recently. Did you notice that the front passenger was low when you got to it? And I said, not to my eye, no. He said, oh, good. My mechanic, as they say, changed a ball joint recently, so he looks to have fixed it. So I'm thinking this guy doesn't know much about cars in general, that a ball joint isn't gonna change or fix any height issue substantially. I was thinking, well, is there something wrong with the airbag? But it didn't seem that way. So anyway, off we went. He drove us to get some fuel, which was an experience in itself, because he drove about 15 miles an hour everywhere because he was scared of it running out of fuel. And we're talking like 30, 40 roads. Luckily, it was only a 5-minute drive and people were beeping and getting pretty angry. So he said, let me put some good fuel in it and then you can have a drive. Good fuel to him was apparently just regular Shell fuel. And he also left the engine running when he filled it up, which I've not seen anybody do before. So that was odd. So I jumped in, took it for a drive. And here we go again. He said, oh yeah, the tracking needs doing as well. And I could feel it straight away. It was a little squirmy on the front end. He got on the phone, called his mechanic about the knocking noise, who said, yeah, it probably needs the whole arm changing, as we've only changed the ball joint, not the arm. So you can imagine at this point I didn't believe a word that he was saying. So we took it to a quieter road and I booted it a little bit. Had a nice level of torque. Drives completely differently to the 4.4 TDV8 Range Rover that I've got. It really needed to be revved out to feel the power, but that's when you could really tell that the tracking was out. The front felt quite light. I don't know if the contributing factor was the fact that you could just feel and see the back end squatting down because it had so much power. It was quite cool. Stabbed the brakes, thought they were quite adequate for the car, keeping in mind it's really heavy and the discs were rusted, had been sat there for quite a while. We drove back and I said, well, I'm going to have a look underneath if you're all right with that, which he was. So me being me, came prepared with my head torch and cheekily asked me if I could have a look at that front corner as well to see what was wrong with it. So I crawled underneath and went straight to that corner and immediately could see that they'd changed the lower arm ball joint, I think the one that bolts to the hub, and I could see what the problem was straight away. So continued to crawl around and honestly, it was just incredible condition underneath. Some things just look factory new. I was really pleased with the condition. So, you know, the usual, not trying to show it too much. We went into his trailer office thing to discuss money. And I'll be honest, I wasn't intending on buying any car that day. I just wanted to view and drive one and see if we'd consider buying one and maybe think about selling the Range Rover at some point if it just does everything better, or I don't know. So he gave me what I would call the usual car dealer spiel, try to build rapport. So I said, well, let's talk about money. I said, there's an issue with that corner suspension. There's no service history. You can't verify the mileage. There's no auction sheet. So I don't know what they graded it in Japan. If it's been had any accidents. Said it probably needs a new battery, and in my back pocket I knew there was loads of error codes coming up. I said I was also be happy to take it away and do a bit of a deal without the 3-month warranty that he was offering because I do all the work myself. It was up for £20,000 and he said he'd already knocked off £5,000 because he's got lots of new stock coming in from Japan and he needed the space. I don't think I was too cheeky because I didn't think he would like that. So I offered him £18,000. And after, I would say, a short deliberation, he accepted that. I paid £500. I signed a contract, and off we went on our way home. So this was on 30th of December. He did delivery as well, which again was odd because he said, well, it's up to you. If you want to pay me for delivery, you don't have to. I'll leave it up to you. Very strange. He delivered it on the day after, on the 31st, after we wired the remaining money. So he did call me on the way, asking me how to take out of low range mode, which I didn't leave it in. I did test it, but I put it back into high range, so I don't know how he's done that. And then he asked me to have some cash in hand ready for the delivery, which again, I was more than happy and expecting to pay in the first instance, but just really inconsistent messages that he'd been sending me. He said he'd leave it up to me on how much I'd pay. So he dropped it off, signed the usual V5 stuff. He handed over the one key, unfortunately, but I can sort that out, no problem. And off he went on his way. So that's it. So what that doesn't tell you, though, is what happened next. Let's open up, get inside. It's a bit windy. Oh, she's lovely. I've not been sat in here for quite some time. So, what it doesn't say is the error codes, I think, is the first thing. If you dig deep into the error codes in the ID tool, you can see the dates and mileage of things when things went wrong. It's like a historical stuff, but long story short, the mileage had been clocked on this car. So I think, and you have to forgive me for my memory's terrible anyway, but I've tried to actively push this out of my brain because it just made me a bit miserable at the time. So I'm remembering things as I'm telling you them. So I think it was up for 61,000 miles or what have you. But actually it had done double. That's right. It had done double that, and what they'd done is they changed the mileage at the point it had come into the country and changed the dials from kilometers to miles, and you can clearly see that in the error history. Now I can now I've extracted the files and put it on my computer. What happened next was I then thought, right, I'm going to see if I can get hold of this auction sheet, because he said he couldn't get it, and I also didn't know this. So again, it's a harsh learning experience for me on importing cars from Japan. You can actually pay a company in Japan that deals with the auction sheets, and you can buy them. And obviously, if I'd known that, I'd have done that beforehand. So I managed to get hold of the auction sheet, which shows you in Japanese. So I used Google Translate for it. Shows you any major defects, etc. on the car. There was nothing on that side of things from memory. I have got all the documents. I need to revisit them all, but maybe I won't for my own sanity. But clearly in there, it stated the mileage in kilometers, which translated to double the mileage, which was on the dials and what he was selling it for. So you can imagine this would have been, I don't know. So if this was, I got it on like the 30th. I think I saw it on the 30th of December. He delivered it on the 31st. Maybe less than a week later, I got the auction sheet back. My heart just sank. Christmas, New Year, having a good time, and then this just landed. So I was not happy, as you can imagine. So I messaged him, and immediately, I'd have to dig through the WhatsApp messages. He didn't deny that what I was saying was true, which was really odd. He just denied knowing about it. So, long story short, I asked for a refund and he refused. And I knew that legally, because of the time frames, etc., and what he was selling to me, that he had to give me a refund if I asked for it. But he refused. So unfortunately, we had to go down the route of threatening court, etc. Not a great experience, not something that's enjoyable for anybody to have to do. But then he decided that he would give me a refund, but it would be in April of that year, so I'd have to wait 4 months for my money back. Not a chance I was doing that, and he was just conning me. 4 months so he can piss off to another country or something? No chance. So I said obviously no to that. We went back and forth, and me knowing what legal proceedings are like. It's quite likely. I mean, I spoke to a solicitor at the time. I spoke to Citizens Advice, and they said that he has to give me the money back. It's not as advertised. So if I'd have taken him to court, it's likely I would have got the money back, but I would have had to pay court fees, etc. And there's always that risk that you won't win a court case. So I just didn't want to go down that, and again, it could have taken, who knows, 9 months, 12 months, 2 years for that to be settled. And I just didn't want it looming over my head. I just wanted to draw a line under it and move on with my life. Anyway, I changed my tactics a little bit and tried to play a little bit softer and nicer with the guy. And he ended up agreeing on a reduced sale price for it. So it was up for 20. I got it for 18. And in the end, I managed to get him to send me £6,000 back. No questions asked. He didn't even ask for any proof that there was an issue with the mileage, etc. So just showing you that he knew. He knew. And I'll come on to it in a minute, how I know he knew. So yeah, he sent me £6,000 back. So I ended up paying £12,000 for it, which I was happy, if you want to call it that, in the end, because I could just draw a line under it. And market value for a Discovery 4, hard to quantify at that sort of cost, because it's just unique. It was a rust-free example, so not been in the UK for all that time and all the miles, so all the salt problems underneath, not a thing. The bodywork is in good condition, and the fact that it had the 5-litre engine, so again, it's hard to compare the market. These tend to float at they're always around that £20,000 to £25,000 mark on eBay and Auto Trader, but they've all miraculously got 60 odd thousand miles. And I think that's something to do with, in Japan, things get expensive when cars get over a certain age and mileage. I might be making this up, someone will correct me. And so they seem to just get rid of them, make them cheap, and people then buy them and export them because they sell well in the UK. Or it's just all a massive con and all of them are clocked, and they're all clocked to 60 odd thousand miles, and it's a lie. So if you are interested in buying one of these, make sure you get yourself an ID tool and check the historical information on any codes that have been cleared, and look at the dates and look at the mileage and convert that into kilometers, miles, whatever, and just do your research. Anyway, so I was just so miffed by the situation that he was getting away with doing this to people. I felt like a Magnum PI. I went off and did a big investigation into him, his business, what it is that he does, information with Companies House, HMRC, DVSA, DVLA, and you could see this clear pattern that he knocks up these businesses in different names in a local area, in his name, in his partner's name, and then they close down and then they open up another one again. But that you could see from the MOT history information, and if you put the data side by side for the MOT dates and the information from the error codes when the mileage changed and when errors were cleared and things like that, you can clearly see that it was him who was responsible for clocking the mileage, and to the point where he was the MOT tester. Get this, he was the MOT tester for the car. Remember the video that you just watched of this guy who knows absolutely nothing about cars? He was down as the MOT tester at a local MOT garage, but he wasn't the owner of the garage or manager or anything like that. He was down as the MOT tester. Just dodgy. And at the very same day, the mileage changed at that point. You can see in the error code history. So I know he was responsible for it. I know he knew about it. He absolutely conned me. I then went off to speak to DVLA, DVSA training standards, and guess what? I got no response. I wrote to DVLA to try and get the mileage corrected because it was MOT'd with the incorrect mileage. So I wanted it to be honest and correct at the higher mileage, and they just ignored me. They've just never even got back to me. So I'm a bit of an impasse now. It's not, as far as I'm aware, illegal for the mileage to be wrong on the dials on the car. When you sell the car, I think you're legally obliged to let people know what the correct mileage of the car is. I don't really have, I don't know, I always say this, and you can quote me on this moment in a few years' time if you ever do, but I've got no intention of selling the car, because by the time I want to sell it, it's probably not worth, it's either not worth the money that they'd be going for in X years' time, or it might just be really worth a lot of money, in which case I'd rather just keep it for nostalgia, because you probably won't be able to see these on the road, or it should be just be a valuable asset that I don't want to get rid of. Valuable to me, shall we say, rather than monetary value. So I can't see me selling it, so I can't see it being an issue. I may get the mileage changed on the dial so it's correct, I may not. So there you have it. That's it for this video. I initially had some issues that I needed to fix on the car quite quickly, so again, it'll be a mixture. The next video and videos to come will be a bit of a mixture of things that I needed to fix. There was only one key, so now there's 2 keys, so there's a little video on that. As soon as I got the car, for some reason, a couple of days later, the boot decided to stop working. The solenoid went, which I believe is a common thing on these things. So I've got some old footage of me fixing the solenoid, or half fixing it. I need to finish it off. But the biggest problem is these AJ133 engines, which is essentially the same as the supercharged engines, shall we say, just for sake of ease. The timing chains are a problem on these cars because of the guides being made of aluminium. Is it the guides? I don't know what you call it. The bit that the tensioners press on are made of aluminium, and they wear down because it's soft, and it leads to a sloppy timing chains, which can cause you timing chain issues. There wasn't any error codes recorded for that in the history or currently, so that's good news that it's not skipped a tooth. And as I said, I think in the previous cut video, it's not that loud. It sounds quite quiet up front. I'm going to change them anyway now that I know that the mileage is much higher. I was always going to do it anyway when I bought the car, even after I bought the car at the full £18,000 that I originally paid for it. It just was nice to know that it would only add 61,000 miles on it, that I didn't have to do it immediately. But now I do have to do it immediately, which is why it's not being driven anywhere. It's not MOT'd anymore. So I've got a boot full, and if you can see, because it's tracking my head, I've got a boot full of parts, largely genuine Land Rover parts, which I've just compiled over time when I've spotted bargains on eBay or dealers, to do the timing chain, timing chains and tensioners and guides, etc. on this. And at the same time, as you know, it's a whilst you're there sort of thing. Fuel pump, water pump, thermostat, probably PCV valves, coolant hoses, which are, there's a front and a rear plastic ones, which are known to crack, bearings, pulleys, belts, all that whilst it's off. So that'll be a big video coming soon. And I just want to drive the car, to be honest with you. It's such a nice car. I just want to get to the point where we can finally drive the thing. One of the last things is, it was supposed to have a problem, didn't it, on one of the ball joints, on a suspension issue in one of the corners. I'll spoil the fun now, because I think I was going to put it in another video. They'd literally changed the bottom ball joint and not put either not put a nut on. Well, I'd have to go underneath, have a look. I think the nut's on, and they've just not tightened it up. They've just loosely put it on, so it's like an inch or 2 centimetre or so just on the end of the thread. So that's what the knocking noise was. So it'll be a fairly quick fix. However, I don't trust any of the work that guy has done or got somebody to do on it now. So I'll probably change anything that I see that's non-genuine whilst I'm down there anyway. I need to do brakes. They've completely rusted, obviously, because they've been sat here, and it's something you would just do as soon as you get any car anyway like this. Just chuck some new brakes on it. And the tyres are now all cracked. These wheels were never destined to stay on the car anyway, so I'm a bit loath to buy brand new tyres for some wheels that I just don't want anyway. I'm not sure what wheels are going to go on this. I've got new Defender wheels on the L322, and they're fantastic. But I don't really want to have 2 cars with the same wheels. I want something a bit fruitier for the look of this car. So I'm not sure. Anybody's got any good ideas for wheels on these cars, fairly small with a high profile, let me know. Drop some links in the description below and I'll have a browse. But I'm just not there yet. So that's it for this video. Next video is probably just quickly fixing the boot, and I'll insert some old footage with the new stuff. So hope that wasn't too boring for people. A little bit of a lesson from my mistakes if you're thinking of importing a car from another country like Japan, subscribe for more content on this car. We've got L322 stuff coming as well. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.